All right, fifth graders, this is Mr. Combs again. I apologize for ending right in the middle of that, but I just want to be sure that we can actually give you the full video. So for this next one, for I, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to flip my paper over. I'm going to go to my x-axis first, so I'm going to go over. It's going to be 3 1/3. I'm going to go up to my y, see 1 whole, 1 1/3, 1 2/3. So 3 1/3 and 1 2/3. All righty. Okay, now on to point B. Okay, point B, let me find it. I see where it is. Okay, B is going to be one that's kind of tricky for us. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to figure out our point on our x-axis. So that was that original one that we had labeled as 5 2/3. And then when I'm looking at this, I see that it's right still on that x-axis. It's not even above it remotely. Okay, so that y point is going to be 0. It hasn't gone anywhere up, so it's going to be 0. So 5 2/3 and 0. And then now on to C. C is kind of going to be the same idea, but in reverse. Okay, I'm going to do my x-axis first. I see point C hasn't moved off of that y-axis at all. Okay, so that x point is going to be 0, and then I'm going to see how high up it is, and it's going to be 5 1/3. So 0 and 5 1/3 is going to be our coordinate point. All right. Okay, now on to point G. Name the points located at the following coordinates. So our first one, 1 2/3, and then 2/3. So I'm going to go 1 2/3 over, so 1 whole, 1 1/3, 1 2/3, and then I'm going to go up 2/3, 1/3, 2/3 to give me point M. All right, same thing, 0 and then 2 2/3. I'm going to stay here at 0. I haven't gotten anywhere off of this. Then I'm going to go up 2/3. So I see 2 wholes, 2 1/3, 2 2/3 to point F as in fish. All right, now on to my third one. I have the coordinate points 1 0. Okay, so I'm going to go over 1 and then not up at all, okay, to give me point A as in alligator. My next point, 2 and then 5 2/3. So I'm going over 2, okay, so I'm going to stay here. And then I'm now going to go up to 5 2/3, okay, so all the way up to 5 2/3. So I'm going to stop at 5 wholes, then 5 1/3, 5 2/3, and then N as in Nancy, point N. Okay, all right. H, this is a tricky one. Which point has an equal x and y coordinate? So I'm going to look over here, and so I know as I move farther over here on my x-axis, that's increasing. So that means that that point would also increase in terms of height. I'm going to look first at point L, and we'll see what the coordinate points are for this. So point L is on the x-coordinate of 5. And then now I'm going to go over, and I see now that it's also on the y point of 5. So point L is 5 5. And one thing when I'm looking at my paper that I forgot to do, we need to be sure that we put these in parentheses so we know that those are coordinate pairs. All right. Okay, give the coordinates for the intersection of the two axes. Another name for this point on the plane is the blank. So we're going to turn this over and we're going to look at our coordinate plane. Okay, and when I see, if I was to extend these lines, this is where this would intersect. And so I see that they intersect right at this point here where I have that labeled as 0. So it's gone nowhere on my x-axis. It's gone nowhere on my y-axis. So our coordinate point is going to be 0, 0. And then I know another name for this point is the origin. right. J, plot the following points: 4 1/3 and 4. So I'm going to flip my paper over. I'm going to go to 4 1/3, and then now I'm going to go up 4, all the way up to 4, okay? And I'm going to put a point right there, and they want us to label that point as point P, as in panther, okay? All right, point P right there. And when we're doing this, guys, too, please feel free to pause the video and be sure you have it in the right spot. That's kind of how we need to work these out. Okay, now on to Q, 1/3 and 6. So first things first, I'm going to go over 1/3, and then I'm going to go all the way up to 6 units. Okay, I'm going to put a dot right there on 6. And then this is going to be point Q, as in quail. All right, okay. Now we have R, so 4 2/3 and 1. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to 4 2/3, okay? And then I'm going to go up to 1, and that's going to be point R, as in red panda. Now I'm going to be on point S, so 0 1 2/3. 0, and then I'm going to go up 1 2/3 to point S, as in snail. All right, okay. And so now K is asking us, what is the distance between E and H, or EH? What I'm actually going to do for this one is I am actually going to go onto my graph, or excuse me, my coordinate plane, okay? And I am going to draw an actual line from E to H, okay? From E to H. I know that on my x-axis, all of these points are broken into thirds. All of these lines are equal to 1/3, so I'm just going to count by thirds. So I have 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3, 5/3, 6/3, 7/3, and then 8/3, okay? So I'm going to flip over to my paper, and I'm going to write EH is equal to 8/3. I always think it's easier to think of these as mixed numbers, so you have a greater idea of what that amount would actually be in terms of whole units. So we're going to convert that into a mixed number. I know that 3 goes into 8 2 times. 3 times 2 would give me 6, okay? 8/3, okay? Plus those extra 2/3. So 2 2/3, okay? All right, and that's it for this problem set, okay? First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lift my iPad up. I'm going to lift my iPad up, okay? I want you to pause here and be sure that you have all of this down on your paper. And then now I'm going to flip it over, okay? And then now you can also pause the video here and be sure that you have all of these points correctly placed on your paper. So I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for everything you do. I appreciate you all, and have a wonderful rest of your day.